Alright, looks like we're going to go live audio only because we can. And I'm just going to go ahead and invite a couple people first. I'm going to keep the cussing to a minimum, which there's no guarantee because you guys know exactly how I roll. Let's see, who else might be interested and will engage. Simply because this is the way I roll. You know what I'm saying? Let's see, who else can I invite? Yes. And yes. All right. Okay. Almost there, guys. Almost there. I'm going to give myself maybe like 30 seconds. I'm just going to invite a few more people. Hopefully someone will tune in. Yeah, Ryan's pretty good. Okay. By the way, I hope everyone is having a lovely Thursday, May 25th, 2017. This is just one of, well, I've been doing this a couple of times, but I do it for fun. I don't do it for anything profitable because, quite frankly, Facebook sucks and they don't monetize, if you know what I mean. First and foremost, what I want to get out of the way is that, yes, this is my brand new profile. What happened with the previous one was it got permanently disabled because UFC, who is now owned by WME, claimed a third-party infringement on me because I was Facebook live streaming and turned the camera to the television screen during the Gegard Mousasi and Chris Weidman fight after the illegal knee, quote-unquote, was thrown. And I remember something popping up on my phone screen and I hit no. I later found out that was, you're supposed to agree to an ad being ran on your live stream before you can proceed, and I hit no, and that's pretty much violated the terms, which is kind of stupid, but whatever. Before I knew it, I was able to scroll through the app and not be able to engage or send messages, post, nothing, not even on Facebook Messenger. So it became pretty whack. And then before I knew it, I could not even log in at all. So that went that. So, okay, I think I've invited enough people. I just want to see who else I can invite here. Usually I invite people that are going to engage and actually pay attention because, quite frankly, everyone's attention span is probably the lowest I've ever experienced, which is fine. No big deal. That just means that I have a select few that I can invite. So, all right, I invited enough. So this is the purpose of this. What's up, Ronnie? What's going on? Okay, so everyone's always asked me, hey, Edgar, what is it that you do for a living? So, well, what I do for a living is, of course, I am in audio and sometimes visual as well. I've been doing it since the age of, if I can remember, as far back as age 17 before I graduated high school. Long story short, because I don't want to bore you with my life story because it sucks. I got into the audio engineering business first, which was traditional studio recording, some live sound, basic miking of instruments such as a drum kit, a guitar amp, a vocal, shit like that. So, but then along the way, as soon as I got into, I got a piece of the education sector, especially in the profit sector. I discovered post-secondary education and how post-secondary education can pretty much be the opportunity for someone that did not get into fucking Harvard or did not get into Yale or did not even get into Cal State LA or Cal State Long Beach, Dominguez Hills, shit like that. I learned that it was an actual, sorry to bore you, Ronnie. It was an actual opportunity for me to actually showcase some of the things that you can actually accomplish without going to school for 4 years. But that's another story But I work in the job placement department. I work in career services. So my previous stint was with Pinnacle College. I was the director of career services there, but everyone knows how that turned out. School went out of business. I sank with the boat. I was the bearer of bad news for about 3 months. Goodbye. Unemployment kicked in. That was it. Along the way, I was picked up by this marvelous company, SAE Institute. Props to my boss, Melissa Robertson. Hopefully you're listening. I thank you for that opportunity. And I pretty much started off where I left off. I only took a month off. But same thing. It's basically the same thing, only on a little bit bigger scale. The student population is actually bigger. These are the top questions I get as a job developer. I wanted to clear some stuff up because apparently we're not seen as a service. We're seen as kind of like a savior in a sense. When I want to make it very clear, I'm not a savior. Neither is like the EDD, neither is like job agencies. I just want to make it very clear. I want to share some of the questions and some of the replies, obviously, that I get in my department, especially with parents coming in, people that quite frankly want to move from like the Midwest to LA thinking that they're going to live the dream and automatically just waltz in somewhere and become a fucking banger, for lack of a better term, because I use a lot of jargon. It's not that simple. There's a lot of steps you got to take, and there's a lot of things you need to do, and there's a lot of pre-work that you need to actually get in line before you can even get a foot in the door. And a lot of people in this industry, especially the music industry, which I haven't been as involved in as I used to be. I'm more on the TV and film side now. But these are the questions. For example, the first question I get asked is, how can career services help me with my job and internship search? Okay, so yes, we can help you first and foremost. And how we help you is we are in charge, because there's more than one of me. I mean, there's several of me nationwide with this company. What we do, it's our job to become a liaison between the school and the employer or potential employer or potential internship facility. Case scenario is I get a lot of recording studios that need quote unquote interns or quote unquote runners. What is a runner? A runner is basically like a production assistant on set, only sometimes it's unpaid. Now, our industry is a little bit different, so not to bore you with all this shit, but I have to, believe it or not, even for a simple internship, we don't have a formal internship program. Where other schools, they send you on an internship just to get school credit. But to me, it kind of defeats the purpose, because now you're just going to the internship just to get the credit, when in fact, there's no objective, there's no why factor, and there's no mission behind what you're doing, only to get credit. Other than that, you're not doing anything. You're not contributing. You're not taking initiative. You're not doing what it takes to actually own the role and actually get on that payroll, which is what the end goal is supposed to be, is to get you paid. Because in our department, we can't count you as working in a related field if you're not at least getting paid the state minimum wage, which is $10.50. But what I do, for example, is I reach out to all my connections in the 17 years that I've been in the music industry and audiovisual industry, and I get all the information, and I send out a memo, but I send out a memo in the sense that, okay, I have to find out who's interested, because I can't just say, okay, Joe, Corey, and Debbie, they want to intern. Okay, cool. So Joe, Corey, and Debbie are going to go intern here. Chances are, if I didn't do my job by pre-screening them and finding out what is it that they're capable of, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, I just did a disservice to not only myself and my department, but to them and the facility. So it's a triple whammy. So how can career services help you with your job internship search? Is any type of networking event we throw, any type of job postings, information sessions, workshops, resume reviews, which is like a forgotten art because everyone uses a template. And mock interviews especially is a big thing. Not everyone knows how to, I hate to say this, and I don't like using the word millennials because it's such a jargon word and it's such a trend word now to use that I'm just going to shy away from it and just say young people. What young people tend to do now is they don't do well in mock interviews, which leads me to say that they won't do well in an actual interview. They'll choke. So I have to work the kinks out with them. That's basically what I have to do. So the other question I get is, what are the basic characteristics that employers are looking for from someone who's just completed a program such as our 9-month diploma audio technology program? Well, believe it or not, a lot of this shit is attitude, man. And young people, I'm not going to use the word millennial again because it's jargon. It's a very trendy word, but young people have a really bad chip on their shoulder right now, and I don't understand why. There's no need for it. There's absolutely no need for it because this is a fun industry. It does take a lot of work, but any employer is going to look for, there's the technical aspects, the stuff that looks good on paper. But then again, what good is it that you look great on paper, but you're a total dick? That's the difference between the guy or the girl that has not as much experience, but has a great attitude and shows up. That's all they're looking for. Because 9 times out of 10, you're not going to start in the job that you want. You have to start in the job that you're required to enter first, your first step. You can't go out of 5 steps. You have to go to step 1. That's basically how it works. So attitude is what they're looking for. And also I get asked is, why should I participate in an internship? And how do you get one? Okay, well, how do you get one? Obviously, I'm the resource, or you can look on your own. There's many resources. I always preach this, it's one thing to have resources. It's another thing to be resourceful. There's a big difference between the two. So why should you participate is because you have the opportunity to explore the right fit for you when it comes either to the studio, music, post-production, on-set sound, production sound on the field, or even, even audio visual, which is more corporate. But that's why you have to, it's like saying, oh, why do I need to go to the boxing gym if I already know how to fight? Because I was raised in the hood, whatever, and I can street fight. Because you just might come in contact with someone that is professionally trained and could beat the shit out of you. That's layman's terms. So that's the best analogy I could use. And everyone asks, I get asked this recently with the active students is, how can they make employers want to hire them? Well, here's the thing. The catch is you have to do your homework before you actually go in and even consider applying, because you have to know the culture of the place you're applying at. You have to really ask questions, the best questions possible. I know it sounds very cliche, say, oh yeah, the best questions get the best answers, but you have to find out whether or not you're asking the right one. And that's something that pretty much sounds like you could easily Google search and find out on your own. There's no babying in this industry. If you get babied, you are not going to make it. This industry will eat you whole in one bite. I've seen it happen countless times, and it does two things to people. It either scares the shit out of them, or it completely fucking motivates them to do better. That's basically what it is. So, do your homework, study the culture of the people that you're trying to apply for, and then just make sure you know the role of what you're applying to. Make sure you own the role. You memorize all the duties and responsibilities. That's very key. I don't know how many times I've said that before, but you have to memorize a job description pretty much, because that's what you're going to want to highlight during your interview, that you can actually accomplish all those tasks in a timely manner. The other question I get asked is, what should you highlight on a resume, and what should the cover letter look like? This can go different ways. The one thing you should highlight on your resume, guess what? It's not your education. I don't know how many times I've read a resume, and the first thing that pops up is not an objective. It's not even like a summary. It's, I went to school here. I'm a graduate of here. It's like, okay, you've been out of school for a year. You've been out of school for 2 years, and you're still leading with that. That's a big no-no. You cannot do that. You save that for the end, either with your credits and then your college education and all your certifications. People want to know what you can do. What is it that you can? That's the first thing they're going to ask. Yes, there might be some educational jobs that might require a degree, but even so, they're going to want to know what you can contribute. What have you done? What are your skills? What are your qualifications? That's what they want to see. And a lot of people don't even put an objective. An objective is very, very simple. Everyone's like, oh, what's an objective? What's an objective? Well, I don't have a very easy way to explain it, but it's basically a goal, a purpose, a target. Like, for example, your objective to go to a bar is either to get shit-faced, have fun, or talk to people. You always have an objective. You always have a purpose to go to these things, to do stuff. Why do you eat? Because you're hungry. You want to feed yourself, that kind of shit. But also, and then I get asked about cover letters. Cover letters usually can't be no more than like maybe 3 short paragraphs max. I've seen some that look like the preface of a novel, which is another big no-no. And quite frankly, a lot of run-ons, a lot of fragments, a lot of words that get used repeatedly. It's easy to, get a thesaurus, get something like Grammarly.com, which I use religiously, to find some of the synonyms to some words, so that way you can actually not use the same word and stuff like that. And by the way, your resume should just be 1 page, because if it's more than a page, it's considered a CV, which is abbreviated in Latin for curricula vitae, something like that. I just highlighted for CV, but I don't speak Latin, so I don't know. And I also get asked is, what should I start doing now to land the dream job tomorrow? Well, in our industry, we're very centric when it comes to software. Everyone says, okay, well, do you need to know hardware? Yes, you do, but you have to know the software. We're very centric with Avid, which back in the day it was DigiDesign, but DigiDesign got acquired by Avid. And they have this software called Pro Tools. And Pro Tools has been a workbench for audio for a very long time. There's other workbenches that are a little bit more creative, like Logic Pro from Apple. There's Ableton 9 Live by the people at Ableton. There's Presonus Studio One, which is great. There's also Native Instruments. They got a lot of cool toys. There's Cubase by Steinberg. The list goes on. And not to mention the ones that it came up pretty recently with their suite is Adobe, which I embraced immediately because I adopt technology very early so I can get ahead of the game and find out what is it that I'm missing out on quickly. But what can you do today is learn as many software programs as possible. The hardware is fairly not easy to learn if you're not building it. but it's easy to operate if you just practice. It's repetition. But the software, in my opinion, is a little bit more difficult to be fluent in than actually twisting knobs on an LA2A, for example. Now I'm talking jargon, so I'm gonna skip that. And then I also get asked, how does social media affect your job and internship search? Well, that's the thing. It's a double-edged sword. Some people are not on it because they just don't want any kind of trace of them on there. Some people want to be on there so they can get recognized, but they don't watch what they post. Bottom line is, it can make or break you, but use common sense. I mean, once the information is posted, it's never really deleted. It gets kept. And then just, I always notice that people put pictures of them that pretty much either incriminate themselves or make themselves look very, I'm not going to use the word professional because the word gets thrown around a lot too. That doesn't own up to their role is what I'm trying to say. I've seen DJs, with their, like if they're taking a real estate picture with a suit, I don't know, that doesn't really match for some reason, but you have to know your role and you have to own it and actually be publicly displayed as so. But I've seen people with, the gas mask because you know what they're doing. I've seen people with taking, dabs off a bong hit, stuff like that. So yeah, that can break you big time. So you might want to know that employers have rescinded a lot of offers based on the information obtained on social media. So I always stick to LinkedIn when it comes to that stuff because LinkedIn is a more professional network. But not everyone gets it, so that's totally on them. Well, another question is that always comes up is where should I network? Who should I talk to? What should I do? Like how did you get started? Well, I mean, in the 17 years that I've been doing this, I still feel like I'm learning, and the reason. Oh, thank you for the update, Ronnie. I have it on mute. I'm not even watching and paying attention, but the only thing I can recommend to you now, especially if you're in our industry, which is the music, audio, for television and film or professional audio visual, one thing I would highly recommend is you just kind of get to know people, but in a very genuine sense, because they can smell a phony from a mile away. I know I can. And, you can't bullshit a bullshitter. So if you're not really into this industry, then you have to choose another one. That's basically, there's no middle ground with this industry. I'm genuinely curious of not only the technology, not only the content and the production that goes into it, but the people. I've always had this obsession with people, and what they do and why they do it. That's why I'm a big Tony Robbins guy, I guess, because he's the same way. But I can relate because what better way to learn from people than to actually ask them what is it that makes them tick. That's a great way to learn, in my opinion. So, and with this industry, it's just like that. You have to ask questions, because if you don't ask questions, you don't want to seem nosy and talk too much, because I know people that just ramble on and they need to land their plane and, cut the conversation short, and know how to pick their shots, because if they don't, then, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So, but that's usually the biggest questions I get asked. I wanted to share with people and kind of clear that up. My department, for example, does not guarantee employment. So, I've gotten people like, oh no, you didn't get me this job, so you can't mark me as working in a related field. When in fact, a lot of these people agree, when they enroll in post-secondary schools, that yeah, you are supposed to report where you're working at, whether it's a freelance position, you're an independent contractor, or you land an actual regular employment, like you actually sign a W-4 and you're or a 1099 and you're employed, by an actual facility, and you get paychecks through their payroll company. But I mean, I wanted to clear that up because a lot of people have been asking me, what is it that I do for a living, and can I find them a job? The answer to that is I can lead you to the source. It's up to you to be resourceful. I don't guarantee anyone. And quite frankly, I'm dedicated to only my students and my graduates. But if you need some type of bone that you want me to throw at you, just let me know. I'll tell you where to search. I mean, I'm not that bad of a guy, but then again, my dedication is to the students and grads at SAE where I work. So anyway, that's pretty much all I got. Last thing I want to say is go Dodgers. That's it. Have a good night.